is around your kind of engagement and your recent meeting with kind of big social media platforms, and we've all already seen that social media plays a big role in the far right and how they spread their disinformation and rhetoric. So could you give a progress report in relation to how you got on with social media platforms?
Thank you, Deputy. The events which took place in our city in recent weeks highlighted the threat posed by violent political extremism. As you referred, messages of hate spread online and resulted in manifestations of physical violence on our city streets. It's very clear that social media companies have an important responsibility to resource and to operate robust systems of detection, including the timely removal of harmful content. I've said very clearly that it was relayed to me the way in which some companies engaged better than others, and some companies took down content in a proactive way in comparison to others. What I'm awaiting is a wider report or a more detailed report from An Garda Síochána to be able to engage further. What I can ensure the Deputy is that countering the threat posed by extremism is a top priority for the Gardaí. It's a top priority for me and my department. Our strategy to deal with extremism is part of a whole of government response to countering radicalisation to extremist ideologies, along with liaising with An Garda Síochána, and I and my department are fully engaged with our EU partners as well through the Radicalisation Awareness Network to develop our understanding of the evolution of the threat posed by political extremism, with a view to putting in place appropriate measures to counter that threat. My department is also responsible for policy in relation to illegal content online, including the implementation of the Terrorist Content Online Regulation and policy on online extremism, including in respect of right-wing extremists. And this is a particular part of the legislation that would have brought into play Commission Naman that my department is leading on and will be responsible for. The law is kept under review, and the Deputy will be familiar also with the provisions of the new Criminal Justice Incitement to Violence or Hatred and Hate Offences Bill, which I'm currently bringing through the Oireachtas and is in the Seanad. This will criminalise the dissemination of exactly the kind of hate speech offline but also online, which often informs or encourages violent extremism. As I've mentioned, my colleague Minister for Tourism, Culture, Arts, Gaeltacht, Sports and the Media has introduced the Online Services and Media Regulation Act and established Commission Naman. They are there to regulate online media, including enforcing rules about how online services or platforms should deal with harmful and illegal content on their service. So I think it's really important, where we have Commission Naman, where we have An Garda Síochána, that there is a role for all three of those to be able to engage appropriately where there's harmful content, but most importantly for the Gardaí where there is illegal content as well.
Thanks, Minister, these platforms make vast amounts of money, and obviously vast amount of people engage in social media, and the vast majority of people that go on social media are responsible and they don't spread hate. But in recent years, there are certain agitators that the rhetoric and the tone that they use, how they get away with it, you know, it's incredible. And social media platforms have a responsibility for those that are viewing this stuff and society as a whole to close these people down. Because I don't watch most of that stuff, but I've watched it in recent times. But it's incredible the kind of the free rein that some of these individuals get, and they agitate and they spread hatred and division. So if you're spreading that vile and rhetoric, surely social media platforms have a responsibility to close them down.
Thank you, Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Deputy. I mean, look, I think we'd probably all agree social media platforms have played a really positive role just in our lives in general, in the way we can communicate with each other and stay in touch with friends, but also they pose significant challenges and threats. And I think the negativity that we're now seeing on social media platforms really has grown in such a fast way. One of the biggest challenges is identifying what's harmful content, but also what's illegal content. And often the people that you've referenced, who are many instigators and agitators, they know where the line is, they know not to cross the line, and they know where, where to stop where it doesn't move into the space of illegal content. And this is where Commissioner Mann is so important. This is where identifying exactly what is harmful content is going to be really important, and the way in which the companies then engage proactively with Commissioner Mann is very important here. I know that there has been and was a level of engagement in subsequent days with Commissioner Mann following the riots, but it is at the early stages, and what people need to see is that where requests are put in place, where information is clearly harmful, that it is taken down, and if it's not, that they are receiving the fines that we've set out.
Agitators are actually financially benefiting from the content they put up. In fact, that's how they kind of grow in their kind of status and followers. They actually solicited people to fund their content, and most of their content is inflammatory and it causes absolute hate. And this has been going on for a considerable amount of time, Minister. And hopefully, with your engagement, particularly on the bigger companies, that you relayed that this can't go on, because it's not just a threat to, this is a threat to society. These people have a political ideology that not only is hatred and racism, but wants to kind of overturn society. So it's imperative that social media companies are held to account, and these people are held to account. And that's the most important thing in relation to this debate.
Thank you, Deputy Minister, to respond.
As I said at the outset, I think it's an extremely difficult space to try and manage and to monitor, particularly where you have a grey space as to what's harmful, what's not, what's a criminal offence or what's not, although that should be much clearer. What's really important is that it's not just coming from an enforcement point of view, but that the social media companies themselves take a proactive role in making sure that their own standards that they set within their own community online, that they're fulfilling those standards and that they're being proactive themselves in enforcing those. And again, I think this is where the Commissioner Mann is really important in making sure that these companies are held to account. So the time for self-regulation really is coming to an end, and certainly as a country I think we're showing leadership in this regard. This is the first body of this kind within the European Union that's been established, and other jurisdictions I think are looking to see how this will be managed. Obviously we have a number of these companies here, so we are best placed to be able to engage directly with them, but I think it's really important that the companies themselves clearly have a role to play in making sure that they fulfil and they live up to and they enforce their own safety standards for their users.
Question 41.